Reggie here, and I want to welcome you to the top 10 most submitted books into CGC video. I know that folks are very excited about the new year, but we are going to rewind things just a little bit and take a look at those books that were submitted into CGC in the month of December for 2021. As a reminder, the data that is used to put this list together is provided to me directly by CGC and is not available anywhere else. The reason being, the data is given to me prior to these books being graded or loaded into the census. So by and large, this video is a leading indicator of what ultimately will be happening in the market. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I want to encourage you to do so now. That way you won't miss out on any of the content that comes out from my channel. With that said, let's get to the list. Number 10 on the list is Nice House on the Lake issue number 1, and this book is the only DC book to make the list, which says a lot potentially about this title and also about DC. Based upon the available data, it may be the third print variant that is being submitted into CGC for grading. This third print features an awesome cover from Alvaro Martinez Bueno and was released in August of 2021. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find much in the way of sales data, but the CGC census shows just over 1,000 copies of this book on the census, with roughly 980 of those copies being graded either a 9.8 or a 9.6. Number 9 is Venomlethal Protector, released from Marvel Comics in 1993. This red hollow foil cover continues to appear on the list month after month, and I'll be honest, I assumed that by now this book would have fallen completely off the list, yet here it is in the 9th spot. With almost 13,000 copies of this book on the census, it continues to hold a relatively strong 30-day sales average versus the 1-year average, which signals to me that this book may be fairly stable. At almost every grade from a 9.8 down to a 9.6, the 30-day average is at or above the 1-year average. Number 8 on the list is Spawn's Universe, the one-shot prologue to the expanded Spawn universe, which includes titles like King Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn, and The Scorched. This book, released in June of 2021, includes a couple of first appearances, including Jericho and the Disruptor. At present, the CGC census count for this book is relatively low across all covers. Cover A, which I believe is the one people are submitting, has a total of 597 copies on the census, with all but 5 of those copies being at either a 9.8 or a 9.6. At the end of the day, there are a healthy number of these books out there, and all of them are relatively high grade. Number 7 on the list is X-Men issue number 1, volume 2, and this book features the first appearance of the X-Men Blue Team, the X-Men Gold Team, as well as the Acolytes. It has to be mentioned that this comic is also the best-selling comic book of all time, with 8.1 million copies sold. Due to how this book was released, with all of the covers being released in the same month, I'm unable to determine specifically which of the covers is being submitted in to CGC. With that said, generally speaking, there are ample copies of this book out there. Again, there were 8.1 million copies sold, so this is not a book that is in short supply. I should also probably highlight that this comic is one of 6 X-Men related books to make this month's list, so I encourage you to stay tuned to hear what those other books are. Number 6 on the list is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 361, the first appearance of Carnage, who recently appeared in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. I honestly assume by this point and by the distance that's been put between us and that movie that this book would have fallen off the list, but that is not the case as of yet, despite continuing to appear on this list. the value of this book continues a downward spiral. At almost every single grade from a 9.8 to an 8.0, this book's 30-day average is below its 1-year average and current FMV. As I've stated before, I believe that this downwards trend will continue and may represent a great opportunity for someone to buy the dip. At present, there are more than 23,000 copies of this book on the census. Number 5 on the list is Moon Knight issue number 1 from 2021. Based upon the available data that I have, it is difficult for me to identify which of the more than 40 covers is the one that is being submitted into CGC. That's right, there are more than 40 different covers of Moon Knight issue number 1, which is part of why I am struggling identifying the specific one. But again, looking at the data that I have access to, there is a chance that it could be the second print by Steve McNiven that is the one being submitted in. While this cover is solid, there are a lot of really amazing covers that could be submitted into CGC that have the same publication date of September. We may have to wait and see if the data improves down the road to help us to clarify and narrow down which of the specific covers is the one that most people are submitting in. The most abundant book on the list is cover A with a total of 545 total copies on the census. At present, this book has a 30-day average of $81. Number 4 on the list is the OG, the original Moon Knight title, issue number 1 from 1980. There are now a total of 6,154 copies of this book on the census, which is actually an increase of 554 copies since just last month. I do want to point out that less than 1% of those 554 copies were graded a 9.8, which currently has an FMV of $950. I should also point out that the 30-day average for a 9.8 and a 9.6 and 9.4 are above the 1-year average but below the current FMV. Again, this could be a sign that there is some potential left in this book, potential which may be realized as we get closer to the release of the Moon Knight series on the Disney Plus streaming platform. Only time will tell whether this actually happens in terms of the potential, not the release of the show. Number 3 on the list is Spawn issue number 1 from May of 1992. Despite sustained submissions of this book over the course of the year, the value of this comic has started to erode. Last month, the 30-day average for a 9.8 was $240. This month, it's $223, down 17. The 90-day average last month for a 9.8 was $262. This month, it's $230, down 32. At present, there are more than 20,000 copies of this book on the census, and my suspicion is that submissions will continue for this book and the value will also continue to erode. Only time will tell whether that is true or not, so I encourage you to stay tuned to future videos. And again, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I definitely want to encourage you to do so. That way, you don't miss out on any of the content that comes out from the channel. Number 2 on the list for the 3rd straight month is Miles Morales SpiderMan issue number 30. This book is an exclusive variant for the BAM box, and unfortunately, we still don't know what this cover actually looks like. We do, however, know that there are presently 695 copies of this book on the census. All 695 copies are signature series books ranging from a 9.8 down to a 7.0. If you happen to get this BAM box with this comic, please send me a photo of it on Instagram. It has been 3 months that I've been talking about this book and still do not know what it actually looks like, and I honestly want to know. Number 1 on the list yet again is Ultimate Fallout issue number 4, the Facsimile Edition. At present, there are 628 copies of this book on the census, with the vast majority of those copies being a 9.8. At a 9.8, this book has a 30-day average price of $68. Social media has been all abuzz as of late with rumors of a live-action Miles Morales movie appearance. And so if these rumors continue and if they are proven true, rest assured that this facsimile comic will continue to be on the list. And there is also a very good chance that the real Ultimate Fallout issue number 4 will also re-emerge because it has not been on the list in a few months. As I alluded to earlier in the video, there are a total of 6 X-Men related comics on the list. Only one of them made the top 10, but this list includes 21 books, and so I want to highlight those additional X-Men related books that are on the list. And they include X-Men issue number 4, Wolverine issue number 1, Wolverine Limited Series issue number 1, Uncanny X-Men issue number 266, and Uncanny X-Men 282. Given all of the excitement around the X-Men in terms of their future in the MCU, the possibility of the animated series returning, I am not at all surprised to see mutant-related books continuing to show up in big numbers on the list, and I think that this is going to be a trend that continues. I will tell you that one of the things that I'm a little surprised by is that we don't see more Fantastic Four related comics on the list. Fantastic Four will probably make the screen before X-Men, yet I don't recall seeing an FF book on this list in quite some time, and we've been doing this roughly 1 year. Again, it'll be very interesting to see how this might change over time. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this most recent installment. If you enjoyed it, I definitely want to encourage you to hit the thumbs up button. If you have some thoughts about what's on the list, maybe what made it or what didn't, I am curious to hear those thoughts, so don't be shy about leaving those behind in the comment section. As always, if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.